Section 1. Deed Fraud. Video, Protecting Arizona from Deed Fraud. Welcome. Why this course matters. Imagine this. You wake up one morning to a knock at your door. A stranger stands outside and calmly says, "I just bought this house. You need to leave. You've owned the home for years. You've made the payments. Your name is on the deed. And yet, somewhere behind the scenes, quietly and without warning, someone has transferred your ownership rights." This is not a hypothetical scenario. It happened to Don Carroll, and it is happening across Arizona with increasing frequency. Welcome to Protecting Arizona from Deed Fraud, a mandatory Arizona Department of Real Estate continuing education course designed to prepare you, the real estate professional, to recognize, prevent, and respond to one of the fastest-growing threats in our industry. The new reality of deed fraud in 2026. Deed fraud, also known as title theft or real estate impersonation, is no longer a fringe crime. It is organized, strategic, and evolving. Criminals have identified weaknesses in the real estate system, particularly as transactions have become more digital and streamlined. Today's fraudsters are often part of sophisticated networks operating both domestically and internationally, using online public records, remote notarization tools, and digital document systems to create convincing but fraudulent transfers of ownership. The result is a dangerous reality where ownership can be altered on paper without the true owner ever knowing it occurred. Why this course exists. This course was developed in direct response to a sharp rise in deed fraud cases across Arizona. According to data collected by regulatory agencies, these crimes are becoming more frequent, more complex, and harder to detect without proper training. As a result, the Arizona Department of Real Estate has elevated the importance of education in this area. Whether you are a new licensee or a seasoned broker, deed fraud is now part of your everyday risk environment, and understanding it is essential to protecting your clients and your business. What you will learn in this course. This course is structured to build your understanding step by step, just like a real transaction unfolds. You will begin with a foundational understanding of what deed fraud is and how it works. From there, you will explore how deeds function legally in Arizona, because you cannot recognize fraud without first understanding what a valid transaction looks like. As the course progresses, you will examine real-world examples, identify red flags, and learn practical prevention strategies that can be implemented immediately. By the end, you will also understand how fraud is corrected and what role regulatory agencies play in protecting the public. The Don Carroll story, a real-world warning. Before diving deeper into the legal and procedural content, you will watch a video from the Arizona Attorney General's office featuring Don Carroll. His experience serves as a powerful reminder that deed fraud does not happen loudly or obviously. Like many victims, Don had no idea anything was wrong until the damage had already been done. His property was targeted, documents were forged, and ownership was manipulated without his knowledge. As you watch his story, pay attention to how long the fraud went undetected, what finally triggered discovery, and how complex the recovery process became. These are not abstract concepts. They represent the real risks your clients face every day. The legal reality for real estate professionals. Even though deed fraud is a criminal act, real estate professionals are not immune from liability. Arizona law requires licensees to exercise reasonable care, skill, and diligence in every transaction. Statutes such as ARS, paragraph 33 to 401 establish the requirements for a valid conveyance, while ARS, paragraph 32 to 153 outlines disciplinary actions for misconduct or negligence. Additionally, AAC R428-1101 imposes a duty on agents to act with competence and protect their clients' interests. In Hill v. Jones, the court reinforced that failing to recognize or act on material issues can result in liability, even if the agent did not directly cause the problem. In the context of deed fraud, ignoring warning signs is not a defense, it is a risk. Why this section matters. This section serves as the foundation for everything that follows in this course. Understanding the seriousness of deed fraud, how it occurs, and why it is increasing allows you to approach the rest of the material with the right mindset. The knowledge you gain here will carry forward into identifying red flags, understanding criminal behavior, and implementing prevention strategies. Awareness is the first line of defense, and this section is where that awareness begins. Online discussion. Question 1. Why is deed fraud more dangerous today than it was in the past? Answer. Because digital access to records and remote transaction tools have made it easier for criminals to commit fraud without physical presence or immediate detection. Question 2. What makes certain properties more vulnerable to deed fraud? Answer: properties that are vacant, investor-owned, or owned by out-of-state individuals are more vulnerable because they are not actively monitored. Question 3. Why is early detection critical in deed fraud cases? Answer: because the longer fraud goes unnoticed, the more complex and costly it becomes to reverse the damage and restore ownership.